You guys ever get frustrated trying to find tackle in your boat? Well, in this video, what I'm going to do is explain some possibilities of ways to increase your storage opportunities and make for a better fishing experience. So just a disclaimer here, guys, I'm not supported or sponsored by any products here that I'm going to mention. I'm just going to tell you what works for me. I'm just an average Joe. I work a 9-to-5 full-time job, but I get out on the water a lot. I enjoy fishing. I fish some tournaments, but I guess most people call me a weekend angler, and that's probably what the majority of you are. No matter what your level is within the fishing world, tackle storage is important. You hate to have all your tackle get ruined because they got rusty, or worse than that even is I'm in the middle of a tournament and I can't find the crankbait box that I need or something like that. So in this video, again, I'm going to show you some different possibilities. I'm not promoting any one product. I'm going to just kind of show you what's out there, and I will give you my opinions on what works and what doesn't work for me. And stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to give you some money saving tips after I go through all these different products, what the pros and cons are of each. I got some special bonus tips to help you to make your dollar go even further. All right, so the first ones I'm going to talk about are these typical 3700s. The 3700 series, I believe, was started by the Plano company, but there's a lot of companies that have these. Flambeau. There's just some off-brands. So these are a pro of these. They're inexpensive. They're super easy to find. You can walk into any big box store and find some brand or model of these. They have a little bit of customizable storage. So in this one, it's got 2 latches. It's got these little dividers that come out. They don't always fit perfectly, so you kind of get what you pay for. And I'll put the price of these down below because prices are always changing, but generally speaking, these are going to be in about the $10 to $15 range, depending on the brand and things. Now, the cons are pretty obvious. They're inexpensive. The hinges are not good. The latches are not good. They break. You can stack them on top of each other, but they don't, they're going to slide all over. There's no stackability where they're going to sit in one spot. But again, I use a lot of these. I've been using these for years. They are, like I said, inexpensive, so if one breaks, replacing it's not a big deal. It's not going to break the bank. Now I will tell you, this is another, this one is kind of a little more unique. This one has air holes. So those 3700s, there's no airflow, so that's another con. You could get rusty hooks. And this one specifically, you could get this style for all of your baits, but especially for these plastic hollow belly frogs, it's almost impossible to get these to dry out before you put them back in the box. So typically if I use a crankbait, I let it sit on the deck of my boat for 15-20 minutes before I put it back in the box. That way I know it's dry. But these things, you can try to squirt all the water out you want. You're never going to get all the water out. So that's why I prefer this ventilated model. And it's, again, this one you spend a little bit more money. This one's probably in the $18 to $20 range, but it's still fairly inexpensive. It still has cheap latches, cheap hinges, but again, for me, this is what I use for those topwater baits. Now, a huge step up would be the Plano Edge series, and again, I'll go through the pros and cons, but I'm just going to say from the beginning, these are not cheap. These are expensive, but they're way more rigid than the 3700s. And so some of the features that they include are a 1-latch system right here. So the idea is you use one hand to open this, and it works pretty well. I have found some problems with getting it relatched. It's, again, a thing that you do have to be careful about. So it's a good system. It seems pretty durable, but getting it relatched on occasion can become a little bit of a hassle. And if you relatch it wrong and you pick this up and it tips, or you put it into a bag, you could spill things out. So that's just something to think about. So in addition to the latch, it's got a waterproof seal around the edge. So it's going to pretty much keep the water out. They also have vented dividers, and I'm going to pull one out right here. So here's a vented divider. You can see, hopefully you can see that. The camera's having trouble focusing, but that's vented so air can flow through there. And then also it has a wicking system. This is the wicking system. There's a little bag in here that takes moisture out of the air that's inside of this box. Right, on the back side, there's also these steel hinges. So the Plano 3700s are just plastic. This has a steel hinge. They seem pretty durable. There's two of them. It doesn't run the whole course, but it's a pretty good hinge. And then one of the things I actually really like is it's got this system right here for marking on it. And you can use a permanent marker to mark on this. So this one I have deep crankbaits, but you can wipe it off with an alcohol swab and then reuse that. So I do like that labeling system that comes directly on it. All right, one of the things I really do like about the Edge is that they come with specific boxes for specific needs. So this is a deep box. So it's the size of a 3700, but it's deep. And you can see, I'll open this up so you can see what's inside of it. I've got my deep cranks. These are all cranks that go, in my opinion, anything deeper than 12 foot is a deep crank. And so I got the DT5s and 6s in there. Now I'm going to put a video or a picture up right here showing what I did have them stored in. And I'll tell you that this box, which again it's not a $10 box, it's an expensive box. I'll put the price up here because I don't know all these off the top of my head, but I cannot fit as many baits in this box as I could in my 3700. So that's definitely a downfall. That's a con. If I'm spending this much money yet I'm storing less tackle, that's not good for me. So as I was saying, with the Plano Edge, they've got specific boxes. So this is a jig box, and you can see I labeled on here, again, I don't know how well you can see that, but these are all my brown jigs. And then I had extra room, so I put in some chatterbaits and things. So this is a jig box. You can see how all the jigs fit in there. And depending on the head of the jig, some are going to fit in there easier than others, but it's not a bad way to store your jigs. Now I had these in a regular 3700, and the amount of jigs that I could fit in my old 3700, just a regular plastic one, now goes in 2 boxes of these. So again, I'm not fitting as much as I could under the cheaper method. So if you're really in need of keeping your jigs separate so the skirts don't get mangled, I would go to a system like this. If I were to do it again, I probably would not have purchased these personally, and I would have just kept them in the Plano box because I never had a problem with the skirts. I would probably get the ventilated one though, like what I had for my top water. That way air could go through there, because again, these jigs, they tend to take a while to dry out. But I'm very good about leaving a jig up on my deck for, half an hour or so before I put it away. I don't put them away wet, ever. Okay, so continuing on with the Plano Edge, in my opinion, this is the best box that they make. And this one is worth the money. So this is a terminal tackle box. And this box, I'll go through all of it with you. But I think that this one is worth spending the extra money. It's going to keep everything organized. I can tip it upside down. My hooks are not going to slide around from one compartment to the next. And so we're going to zoom in on this one, and I'm going to show you more detail. All right, so a couple of things that makes this such a great box is it's very customizable. You can move these dividers anywhere you want. You can see I've got my EWG hooks here in these bins, and I've got different sizes. And these hooks are big enough that they're not going to slide when I tip this upside down. But little bitty hooks, they would. What I ended up doing, I've made this a specific box for my Texas rigs and punching. In the past, I had one box with hooks, another box with weights, another box with the bobber stops. Well, this way I can open one terminal tackle box for a specific 2 different techniques, and all I have to do is open it once. So for instance, all my weights are right here. And these little bins, they open, and then the weights, these are tungsten weights, and they sit in little troughs. So that, there you go, this little bitty 1/8 ounce weight isn't gonna clatter and chafe against other weights. They have their own little trough, so you're not gonna get that black powdery substance that comes off of the tungstens. So you can see I've got these labeled. I got 1 ounces here, I've got 3/4 ounces, I got 1/2 ounces, I've got the 1/4 ounces, and then I even have a box, or they even have these little boxes like this with a lid that opens up, and these are the super little ones, the super little tungstens, 1/8 ounce, 1/16 ounce, things like that. And so they're all in their nice protected little places. I've got my bobber stops right here. I probably have, I don't know, 100 of these things, so I've got an awful lot of them. And then I've got my straight shank hooks and my offset hooks. So that's this terminal box. Now, this terminal box, and if you can see this again, let's see, can it focus? It's having trouble focusing on that, but it's drop shot, wacky worms, and Nico rigs. And so basically it's a terminal tackle box for finesse fishing. And so you can see I've got all kinds of things. I've got my teardrop shaped drop shots, my circular ones, my cylindrical ones. I've got weights for putting into Nicos. I've got some weedless wacky rigs or hooks. I've got Nico hooks here. I've got my drop shot hooks all up in here. And then I've got weighted wacky worm hooks. And you can see I've taken out a lot of bins. I can add to this if I want. I've got a lot of other storage area. But this is the way I've put it together for this year, this coming season. Again, I just go to one box. Usually, if I'm going to be wacky worming and stuff, I'm not going to be needing to dig into my punching weights. So I've got 2 terminal boxes that I absolutely love this flexibility, and all I have to do is grab the right box, and I'm get rigged up and I'm ready to go. So the box that kind of excites me the most, this was a Plano Edge, just a 3700, so this is less expensive than the terminal tackle box. However, I took some of the compartments from a terminal box and used it in this one, so this essentially became another terminal box. And this terminal box, I'll open it up for you, you'll see is set up all for pan fishing. You know, I am a multi-species fisherman. I enjoy fishing for crappie and bluegill and perch, and I have grandkids who I take out. And so you can see I've got all my slip bobbers. I've got the slip bobber stops right here. I've got some little crappie jigs, some weighted jigs. I got some little panfish hooks. So I've got everything I need. I've got basic weights, but it's in one box. So I can pull this out of my boat, put it in a backpack, and go to the pond with my kids or grandkids, and I don't have to search and rummage through a bunch of tackle boxes. All of this was in 3 or 4 very small clear plastic boxes. I had them all separated, and now it's all in one place. So this, I think, again, the terminal tackle boxes by Plano are really worth the money. Again, they're not cheap. You are going to spend a little bit of money on them, but I just extended the value by using a less expensive Plano Edge box and kind of took out some of the things from this box and created an additional terminal box without having to spend the money for an additional terminal box. Okay, so the next brand I want to talk about are these Buzbe boxes. Buzbe's got almost the same color scheme as the Plano, but they're completely different. So a couple of things about them. There are two latches, but these latches are far superior to the Plano Edge. They're very durable. They call them military grade latches. Also, the hinge on the back goes all the way across. It's very durable. I haven't used these for a long time, but I'm thinking that these are going to last longer than the Edge. It also has a waterproof gasket. And then they have what are called modular bins. And these bins are customizable. You can move them any way you want. So I'm going to pull one or two of them out. And you can see that on the bottom, it's got this honeycomb shape, and that's where the name Buzbe comes from. And there's a honeycomb shape here. And so they fit in and they click in almost like Legos. And so you can move these around any way you want. It also has a water wicking system, they say. The other thing, if you're a kayaker or a canoer, these float. You can toss them in the water loaded and they will float. You can watch videos that they have on their website. Now, I've never thrown one of mine in. I don't think I'm ready to do that. But the other thing is, this is much more solid than these Planos. The Plano's a good box, don't get me wrong. It's definitely a way step up from a 3700, but this, there are videos of them driving a truck, a dually, over one of these, and it doesn't even break. So they're floatable and they're durable. So a disadvantage of these Buzbe's is that they don't have specific boxes for specific techniques, like the Plano Edge has a jig box or a terminal tackle box. They have what's called Colony 15, and it's a little bit smaller than this, and it comes with 15 bins. That's what the 15 stands for. Then they have a Colony 28, which is what this is, and it comes with 28 bins. And then they have a Colony 28D, which is a deep, so it's just going to be deeper. Now, I bought two of these just to see how I would like them, and then I actually took out bins. So even though they came with 28 bins, you can see this one, I have 6 bins only. And then I used these side compartments with no bins. And then I mixed and matched between my two boxes. So they're totally customizable depending on what you want to do. And so this one, I have medium cranks in it. It does not have a labeling system. I just used a permanent marker, put MD, so I know they're medium, or I'm sorry, MC, so I know they're medium cranks. So the Plano has an advantage over that. But these are the Buzbe's. I'm pretty impressed with them. They're very solid. They are less expensive than the Plano. And again, I'll put the price up here so you know exactly what it is. Some of you may be wondering about the Bass Mafia. Bass Mafia makes a pretty good box, but I went to the store, I felt them, I looked at them, and I felt like the latches were lacking. I thought the hinge was lacking. The plastic wasn't as good as either of these two. And so I just chose not to buy any of those. Again, I'm a guy just like you. I don't have a lot of money, and so I need to stretch my dollars as far as I can. So I went with the higher end ones that are more durable, thinking that they're going to last much longer. I think the Bass Mafia does make some good products, so I don't want to bash them. I just chose not to purchase any of those. Okay, so I promised you at the beginning of the video that I'm going to give you some cost-saving tips, and I wrote them down here just so I don't forget them. So first of all, I decided rather than going 100% Plano or 100% Buzbe or 100% Plano 3700s, I decided to mix and match to make my dollars go further. I still have a lot of things stored in these 3700s. You can see I've got lots of jerk baits here. I can fit a ton of them. If I were to put these into a Plano Edge or a Buzbe, it would probably take 2 boxes to fill up what I've got here. And maybe down the road I'll do that, but for right now, I'm going to stay with this old 3700. I haven't had a problem with rusting. Like I said a couple times, I tend to leave my baits out to let them dry. So that's one cost-saving tip. Another is, like I said, the terminal tackle by Edge I really liked. But this box right here, I got this at a big box store on a Black Friday deal. This was normally 20 bucks and I got it for $9.99. Now there's two sides. It's very durable. It's made by HDX. I'm sure you can find these online as well. And what I put in here are all my jigs that aren't gonna move from tray to tray. Okay, this doesn't close as tightly, so if I had just regular hooks, they're gonna move. But these are all, let me open this up. This is actually pretty heavy. I've got this loaded with, these are mushroom head jigs. I go to Door County a lot and I use mushroom head jigs. I use, on the back side of this, I've got all my tube weights. So again, if I open this up, you'll see, again, this is pretty heavy because there's a lot of baits in here. So you can see I've got the tubes, all different size tubes. These are all for Ned rigs. I throw a lot of Ned rigs and I share these with my buddies. And I've got blade baits in here. So those of you from the northern part of the country that are familiar with blade baits. So this box, $9.99, super durable. It's more heavy duty than these 3700s. The latches are incredible. I think I could probably drive a truck on this and nothing's gonna happen. So again, it's all about trying to extend my money and have it go as far as possible. So, and then the last tip I had is, again, just do it slowly. If you enjoyed this video, I'm going to put a link right here to watch a video about me going through this beautiful Vexus VX 21-foot 2022 boat. It's just a gorgeous boat. And in that video, I'll tell you how I have everything set up. I'm mainly a bass fisherman, but I'll talk about it as a multi-species boat. So if you want to watch that, it's right here. Thanks for watching.